Hello, East Hartford, and happy Wednesday. I hope you're enjoying the great weather as much as I am. We do have a lot of questions again this session, so I'm really excited to read them. Once again, just want to thank you guys for continuing to submit these questions. It shows that you're in tune, you're engaged, so I can't wait to answer. So let's get started. So our first question is from a taxpayer. Is it true we are getting 8 roundabouts in town? Why can't the funds for roundabouts be used to do road repairs? So this is a great question by this taxpayer. So yes, we are proposing 8 roundabout locations. And so we are looking at 8 different locations where roundabouts could be implemented to help curb bad driver behavior. It's about traffic and pedestrian safety. As I've constantly said, as we explore roundabouts, it's not feasible for me to put a police officer at every single intersection. We just don't have enough officers on at any one time. And so we have to look at other ways that we can enforce traffic rules without an officer physically being there. And one of the ways we can do it is roundabouts. I think roundabouts are a very effective way in both slowing drivers down, keeping them in their lane, and also making sure that they abide by all traffic rules. In addition to roundabouts, just so you know, we are also exploring other technology enforcement efforts such as red light cameras, speed cameras, stop sign cameras, license plate readers, all things to try to curb bad driving behavior. So there is one roundabout that is for sure coming to town, and that is 100% state funded. That is a roundabout that is going to be going in at Chester, Forbes, and Robert Street intersection. We have a ton of data on the amount of accidents, both vehicular and pedestrian accidents in that intersection that justify a roundabout being in that location. So that is the only location where a roundabout is absolutely coming. The rest are proposed. We're exploring them. We're using data that we have from crash data, pedestrians getting hit by motor vehicles, to be able to justify where roundabouts are going. So no, we're not getting 8, but we are exploring 8 different locations where they could potentially be effective in improving driver safety. But thank you very much for your question. Our next question is from Caitlin. Can a police officer be put at the intersection of Forbes and Brewer to help direct traffic for the weekday morning commute? The traffic from the high school backs up into that intersection, and it's pretty chaotic at times. I'm surprised there hasn't been an accident yet. Caitlin, thank you very much for your question. This has been an ongoing issue, probably since COVID, I would say at this point, where we're finding more parents are dropping off their kids versus putting them on the bus. We're hoping that the scale will tip the other way within the next few years. We're comfortable where parents and families get more comfortable putting their kids on the school bus so that you're not having this backup. But that's what's causing the backup. We are short of obviously ticketing anyone or arresting anyone, as we don't feel that's appropriate. We know that the congestion is really in the half hour during the morning and as well as the half hour in the evening. And so our police department is very aware of it. Anytime you're seeing issues with it, I would directly call the police department as soon as you can to get someone out there to help direct traffic. It is ultimately the Board of Ed's responsibility to control traffic in and out of their schools. How fast those people come in and out, in what direction they come in and out is all on the Board of Ed. And I think the Board of Ed's been doing a good job trying to keep traffic down with the volume of cars that they're having. But ultimately, what's really going to be the solution here is that parents put their kids back on the school bus when they're comfortable to do so, to try to alleviate some of the vehicular traffic in and out of the high school that, as you mentioned, is backing up to the Forbes and Brewer Street intersection. But if it does become a problem, if you're seeing, people fighting in the intersection, unable to get through, call the police department right away so that they can come out and address it and help control that traffic a little bit better. But Caitlin, thank you very much for your question. Our next question is from Iris. Does the town inspect businesses on a regular basis? Is there a list you can share with citizens? The old Marco Polo, now an Indian restaurant called Godavari, is in need of building attention. So, Iris, thank you very much for your question. Yes, the town does conduct routine inspections of local businesses, including but not limited to food establishments, daycares, hair salons, and barbershops. The license type of each of those business will dictate how often it gets inspected. This could be either quarterly, annually, or some other periodic time throughout the year. The town is aware of that restaurant you speak of, and both the building department and the health department have been actively working with the business owners to remedy their concerns. The restaurant owners themselves actually closed the restaurant voluntarily to shut down to resolve some of the concerns. I believe at this point, though, the restaurant has reopened and does not cause any health concern to visitors. I did confirm that with our staff before answering this question. So they have resolved their issues. The restaurant is back open. But of course, if you ever see anything like this while you guys are out in the town shopping at local restaurants, call the building or health department as soon as possible, depending on what the violation may be. Obviously, if it's food safety, call the health department. If it's a building code issue, call the building department, and we'll make sure we get out there right away. But we continue to address issues with this restaurant periodically. The owners are receptive to it. We haven't had any issues with them, but we are aware of the issue, and we'll continue to stay on top of it. So, Iris, thank you very much for your question. All right, our next question is from Anonymous. The question is about overnight parking. Is there an enforced ordinance for overnight parking? There is an out-of-state box truck on Sunny Reach Drive, or it's been there since Friday. Is there anything that the town can do about this? So I believe my chief of staff, Kate, has already reached out to you just to remind you of our ordinance and to remind all residents of our overnight parking ordinance. It is Town Ordinance Section 21-3B. It prohibits overnight parking of all vehicles on our streets from 2 a.m. to 5 p.m. unless a waiver has been approved by the chief of police. And for sometimes we grant waivers for people who are having their driveway repaved and so they have to park on the road or for some other reason. Additionally, box trucks are not allowed to be parked or stored in residential areas. And so if you ever see overnight parking, it has to be within the 2 a.m. to 5 p.m. period, 5 a.m. period. You can call the police department. They'll come out right away, ticket the vehicle, have it towed, removed, you name it. And then for commercial vehicles that are parked on residential property, that enforcement effort falls under the building and property maintenance department. You call them, they'll come out, they'll send out a violation notice. We always take the opportunity to try to educate our residents first before we fine them. But if it becomes a consistent problem, we will implement a fine daily until that violation is fixed. So that's just a reminder of our issue. As of today, as me recording this, the truck was ticketed on April 14th and was moved on April 15th. So at this point, that issue has been resolved. But once again, thank you very much for that question. All right, our next question is from Cesar. What are your thoughts on the fight clubs happening in our town, which have ended up with gunfire while our local PD is present? Question mark. Does it seem safe to have illegal brawls or brawlings in our town? So Cesar, I 100% agree with you. I got to see the Instagram, Facebook videos myself of kind of the illegal fight club, as you can call it, that occurred at Last Rep Fitness. So please understand that my police were actually not there when it happened. And one thing I want to make sure is very clear that the town did not approve this sort of event. We do have this happen periodically where people have large gatherings, large parties, events that are unpermitted by the town. They do it without the town's knowledge, and the town only becomes aware of it should someone call us and make us aware of it, whether we see it through our routine inspections, which really doesn't happen at night, which is when this had happened because obviously the town is closed, or when an incident happens like it had happened here. I do not like to see this sort of stuff in the town of East Hartford. This is not what we want to be known for. I believe our residents would agree with us. This sort of activity is, one, illegal, and it is also dangerous. And it did result in fights, and it did result in what seemed like gunfire in the video. So I don't think you're wrong there. And so our PD and our building department, as well as our health department and our fire marshal's department, has been on top of this situation. Last I heard of it, which was about last week, when this incident had happened, the owner of the building was already moving their stuff out. So they have actually already received a violation notice, a citation. Like I said, I believe they're in the process of moving out of there completely. And we will do everything we can to ensure this does not happen again. But as I mentioned, this was an unpermitted event by the town. We had no knowledge of it. This happens. People can, hold events at their businesses, at their houses without us knowing, especially in the evening hours where town hall in the town itself is closed. So if you guys ever see stuff like this, please let us know. But I agree with you. This is actually absolutely unacceptable in our town. We do not want it. We will not allow it here. And we will continue to make sure that it does not happen again. So Cesar, thank you very much for your question. And I 100% agree with you on those feelings. Our next question is from an East Hartford homeowner. Can you please comment on the Hartford Business Journal article? East Hartford officials are considering an 8-year tax break worth an estimated $5.2 million to incentivize a 150-unit apartment development on the long vacant property near Connecticut River. This is a two-part question because in the second part, you say, I understand you are also considering raising the mill rate again. Please explain why this would be happening when we are still dealing with the mill rate increase for this year's taxes, property, and car. So thank you very much for your question. I just want to be clear. The mill rate has gone up every single year, at least since I've been in this government. Unfortunately, I did have to raise the mill rate last year and this year due to a loss of revenue and a decrease in our grant list that I have been very vocal about, not only in these videos, but through our entire budget process in the month of March. The budget was approved on March 10th, Monday, that will go into effect July 1st, 2025 of this year. And it will represent a 1.9 mill rate increase to our taxpayers. However, as I had mentioned, you will see a decrease in your motor vehicle tax bill that should actually net your tax increase to about 1 to 2%. However, I bring that up because I don't want us to confuse and think that the two things are related. So let me be very clear that when we give tax breaks to businesses, they have no connection or are not directly affecting a raise in the mill rate. They are two very different things. A raise in the mill rate is based on the budget pressures that we are experiencing. Offering economic development tax breaks are to pursue economic development in the hopes that bringing that economic development will bring in additional tax revenue, which would help lower the mill rate or at least to shift the tax burden from the residents to commercial properties. So they are completely unrelated. Giving tax breaks to businesses does not result in a mill rate increase to residents, not at all. We do it to make the math work and to make sure that development happens here in East Hartford, because if we don't give tax breaks, they're just going to go to the next community that does. So I just want to be very clear that those two are separate. Anytime we give a tax break, it does not directly result in a mill rate increase at all. However, as you mentioned, we are giving a tax break estimated to be about $5.2 million. And so let me be very clear about what we're actually doing here. We're making a one-time investment of $5.2 million into a $50 million project. Within that time, the 8-year tax break that we're giving, and we're doing shorter tax breaks so that we get off the tax abatement faster to get to full taxation. This tax rate is not a 100% tax abatement either. It's 100% the first year, and then it sunsets all the way to the 8th year. So by the 8th year, they'll be paying 35% or be a tax break of about 35%. And so we're making a one-time $5.2 million investment that we will actually get back $2.6 million of that investment in year 8 of the tax abatement. The last year of the tax abatement, we'll have gotten half of that one-time investment back. By year 10, we'll have made back our entire $5.2 million investment and then some. But what else are we getting? So in addition to getting our money back within 10 years of the project being built, we'll have obtained 150 units of housing that we do not have now, grand list growth, incremental tax revenue growth, and after the 8-year tax bill is done, we're going to take a property, as you mentioned, a vacant property near the Connecticut River that generates about $48,000 a year right now. That's it, $48,000 a year. After 8 years, we will be getting annually more than $1 million a year just from this one project. And so today, if we do absolutely nothing, we will continue to get only $48,000 a year on that one parcel. Instead, if we do something today like this investment, in 8 years, we'll be getting over $1 million every single year. And as I mentioned, this is not an 8-year 100% tax abatement. It's a sliding tax abatement. And so at first, it abates a little more, while at the end of the abatement, it abates a lot less until we get to full taxation in year 9 of the project being built. So in my opinion, this is a great investment of East Hartford. It turns a vacant property into developable, usable land that actually generates tax revenue, generates housing, generates grand list growth. And like I said, we have a one-time $5.2 million investment on a $50 million project. In my mind, it makes a lot of sense, and it makes the math work for a project of this size. So thank you very much for your question. All right, next question is from Paul. Why did the Onewood Pub leave? Where did it go? Great place to eat in East Hartford. Paul, completely agree with you. Onewood Pub was a great place to eat at the golf course, and I got to commend Matt Corey for the work that he put in into really turning that restaurant around. He's also been a great partner for the town. So Matt Corey, as an independent restaurant operator, has chosen to pursue other opportunities. In the midst of that, right now, the town is in the process of awarding the new management contract to the new management company. But we should be seeing a new restaurant coming in there once we award the new contract. And I'm sure it will serve the golf course as well as East Hartford just as well as Matt Corey did. So, Paul, thank you very much for your question. All right, our next question, second to last, is from Linda. Good to hear from you, Linda Chamberlain. Please let me know the status of Veterans Memorial Clubhouse. It was to be renovated and open by now. So I'll start with that question. So we are moving forward with Veterans Memorial Clubhouse. We had to scale back the budget a bit, and this was because money we would have spent today would have affected the budget tomorrow. there's a little bit of state or town bonding that has been authorized for this project. That bonding directly impacts our debt service, which directly impacts your taxes. And so we're trying to time out what we can absorb, what we have the capacity to actually spend right now. And I had kind of taken a step back to say, why don't we rethink VMC? Let's rethink what we're spending on it. In addition to some of the bond money we also have $4 million in state grants for the project. So what we're going to do instead is we're going to take the $4 million, we're going to program that into the building. And that's going to basically button the building up, stop the bleeding of it, get it running again, and basically get it usable for the community. We still continue to work with Manili's, who was the sole respondent to our public-private partnership, to operate VMC full-time. They're looking to move out of South Windsor and operate VMC full-time. So we're going to see what we can do with the $4 million budget. We did hire a owner's rep construction manager already, being Colliers. And right now we're just revamping the scope of work so that we can program $4 million in improvements to that building. That will be happening this year as well. So thank you for that first question, Linda. Your second question is, please let me know what's being done in regards to smoking and vaping, especially at public spaces, sidewalks, property, residential. So I believe what you're talking about is probably the new legal recreational cannabis use. And so a little bit of this is kind of the nature of the beast with legalizing recreational cannabis. We are supportive of legal cannabis usage, not illegal usage. But when it comes to people's residential properties in certain public places, it is allowed. Obviously, not in schools, not in public buildings like town hall, the library, but it is allowed at someone's residential home. There's not much we can do to stop it. And so what the town has been doing is to combat and address illegal cannabis use as well as the selling of cannabis illegally. And what I mean is by whether it be in our smoke shops, whether it be our convenience stores, bodegas, gas stations, that's where we're really concentrating a lot of our effort. And we've made a couple steps to be able to address that. And so we have currently zoned out where you can consume and sell legal marijuana. We don't allow any of our smoke shops, gas stations, any of those folks to sell it. We have actually created zone buffers so that no new smoke shop can actually come into town. We're seeing a lot of our smoke shops start to engage in selling illegal marijuana. We do not have any dispensaries here in East Hartford at the moment, but dispensaries are very highly regulated, highly tracked. You have to provide an ID. You get put into a national database. That's not the same for some of those smaller businesses I talked about. So we're really concentrating our effort on how can we address and prevent those smaller businesses from engaging in the illegal sale of cannabis. And so that's where majority of our effort has been going. Like I said, we've taken steps to zone out future smoke shops. We have implemented through an ordinance a reiteration of state law that allow us 3 different paths to shut down a business found to be selling illegal cannabis. That includes fining them up to $30,000, as well as taking them to Superior Court to have them shut down permanently should we discover any illicit activity going on in their shop. So that's what we're doing here on the local level. Unfortunately, like I said, Linda, a little bit of this is the nature of the beast. It is now recreationally allowed, so people are doing it out in the open more and more. However, for us, we're going to concert our effort on how can we address the illegal sale of cannabis as well as the illegal use. But thank you very much for your question, Linda. Alrighty, Sarford, thank you so much for the questions. As I said, we get more and more questions every week, which means you guys are engaged. You're watching the videos. You're asking great questions. You let me get an opportunity to inform you guys, fill you in on what's going on in town. So let's keep it going. Let's keep bridging the gap, making sure that you guys are informed citizens and making sure that I'm sharing as much information about what's going on in East Hartford as possible. So listen, it's beautiful out there. Enjoy the rest of your Wednesday, and I'll see you guys on next Ask the Mayor.